all we are really now are AI operators. So the only sort of differentiator would be who can prompt the best.
It gets to the point now where it's not just conversational. It can do things on your behalf. And I guess there's a little scariness to it as well.
I meet so many people today, with Google being in existence for a quarter of a century, that don't know how to use Google search. They just go in and they start typing into the box whatever they feel like typing without sort of awareness of how to structure the Google query.
If you don't want to spend 50 minutes getting ChatGPT to completely rewrite or redo the work, just spend an extra 10 on getting that prompt set up properly so that it does output better for you. So marketing in a global business, right? You've got to reach different countries, different cultures, different people with different opinions. How challenging is that?
I think the challenge lies in cultural differences. The challenge lies in sort of geographical differences, climate, languages, all sorts of things. Hollywood democratized a lot of that for us. Everybody watches sort of the same movies and all over the world, right? Everybody knows the movies that you know, right? And everybody wears kind of the clothes that Billie Eilish wears, right? Everybody plays the basketball. Everybody knows Michael Jordan. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think there is a lot of that has already happened, right? And laid the foundation for us to be able to market sort of almost universally across the world without too much sort of acknowledgement for the local differences. But I think those differences still exist. For example, in Sweden, it's really considered to be distasteful to show signs of wealth of any kind, like wearing an expensive watch or driving an expensive car. So if you're marketing there like an expensive product, a luxury item, it could be difficult, right? So if you are like, you look at the way sports are perceived, like the way we kind of deal with sports, like in America, in US, when people go and watch, I don't know, baseball or hockey, all the fans sit amongst one another. You go to UK and not only do fans sit separately, there are these rules where you cannot wear an opponent jersey on the wrong stand. So you basically have these kind of like different perceptions of things. So I think we do need to account for these differences.
Right.
But luckily, I think, again, the culture, the dominating culture that sort of reverberates around the social kind of does that sort of flattening out almost, right, of the differences, right, where you could market basically effectively across the world.
It definitely makes it easier when someone has watched a TV show.
A TV show, right.
Or in my case, I know that we have that T-shirt. It's blue horseshoe. What is it?
Blue horseshoe loves Vista Social. Yeah. Nobody knows what it says, but nobody watched Wall Street.
But if Wall Street was out, was being released recently, then I think everybody would understand.
Right. This was, I think, 1988. This is even before sort of my adult life. But somehow, like in the 90s, I guess it was still pretty popular in terms of reruns. So I definitely remember seeing it.
I'm sure there are pockets of civilization and random countries that love that show or that movie. Okay. I know with technology, we're seeing so many words and buzzwords and companies being bought and sold for these revolutionary new ideas. Now that you were talking about how it's not really new, tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I guess the question here is there such a thing as new tech? And what does that exactly sort of represent? So I think the most infamous example that I have that sort of everybody understands is the word cloud. It's this magical cloud. Just do stuff in the cloud, It exists in a cloud. Like it sounds so magical, right? But in reality, it's just a data center, which is, mind you, a Costco warehouse-looking structure with a crazy number of generators around it. And there is a server inside of that building. And on that server, your application runs. No different than 30 years ago, before AWS, before Azure, there were data centers. And people would build machines in those data centers, and they just didn't call it cloud.
Right.
Today, you have things like, say, MCP, crazy complex model control protocol or something like that, like some sort of an AI-bound, revolution is happening with that. But in reality, just a REST API call. That's all it is. And for those of you who started their careers in technology before REST API became the REST API, I'm going to say the word client server. There is a process that calls another process over network, right? So these things aren't new. What is new is the way they interact with one another. And for instance, in the case of MCP, this is kind of, again, the ability by the AI to call basically an API. So before, AI would simply generate content. Now AI can call an API.
Wow.
So AI is not exactly that new either. AI models have existed for a while. They kind of stepped up and kind of became generative, as of a few years ago. But AI is not new. Ability to call APIs is not new, and yet MCP, right? So, and I talk about this often because I love simplicity. Like, I hate when this sort of verbal complexity, this definition complexity gets in the way of understanding what truly is happening. And I think a lot of maybe developers are even thinking that their knowledge is obsolete, or they need to learn so much more, that there are all these new technologies out there. But in reality, like if you look at even like AWS has crazy number of products, like just enormous amount of products. But in reality, these products are in many ways a wrappers onto the existing tech. Oh, you used to configure your database manually and had to learn a lot of configuration stuff for the database, and you can say that you know MySQL database. Okay, so fine. So that's your knowledge. In today's world, AWS calls it RDS. And you'd be thinking, oh, I don't know RDS. Of course you do. It's the same MySQL database, except for it's hosted by AWS, nothing. And it sort of is like the same sort of repeatable idea. So there'll be like a new product with a sort of like a fancy name to it. And people will be like, oh, we don't know that product. But of course you do. It's the same thing that you've used before, except for it's a different name. So, and again, I just, especially like when we do tech, it's very important for us to see the simplicity in everything that we sort of do, right? And I think that simplicity did not go anywhere. It's still the same tech, the same programming languages, same ideas, same bugs, same everything.
Different name slapped on it.
Different name slap on it, yeah.
So with AI, going back to that, I feel like we can't go through a news cycle without AI being brought up.
Sure.
What would you say is the feature that you love the most, you find most fascinating?
I think a lot of fascination around, obviously, like their ever-evolving content generation abilities. I guess eventually everything that we see on YouTube is going to be AI generated. Like every movie that we're going to see is going to be AI generated. So, and seeing AI being able to produce videos and images, I'm kind of guessing that's headed in that direction in the end. But at least for now, what was exciting as of like a few months ago is this notion that AI can now call APIs. So I think such a simple idea, but at the same time, it is so powerful. Because now you can use AI's intelligence, right, to invoke the right APIs to, I don't know, you have your Google and your calendar, and all of a sudden AI could respond to your emails or schedule bill payments for you or something. So it's such a sort of simple idea, but given sort of the current language models and their abilities. So before, such orchestration of services would take yet another app. You would like download an app that's able to pay your bills on time or something, right? So now you just feed that into the AI. AI will look at your bill payment reminders, call the necessary bank APIs, transfer the money if necessary. So
book or flight.
yeah, so that to me is like sort of a more exciting sort of item out of AI sort of community over the last maybe 3 months.
It's more connected, right? Like it gets to the point now where it's not just conversational. It can do things on your behalf. And I guess there's a little scariness to it as well, but
there's an absolutely total scariness. I think from what I've heard, ChatGPT researchers, and I think you may have been telling me this, have moved on from trying to assess the risks associated with AI onto what can we do to prevent this thing from killing us.
Right. It was something along the lines of, I think it must have been an interview that I had watched, Diaries of a CEO. And I think the guest was talking about, he was an AI researcher and specifically around risk. We no longer focus on how do we stop AI from taking over. But now we're focused on when it does, how do we stop it from wanting to kill us and wipe us off the planet?
It's insane. I mean, the movie that comes to mind is the Terminator, right?
Yeah,
Or is
yeah.
it the second one? The second one?
think
Yeah,
it's
I think it's the second one
thing.
when the machines were like, they were fighting the machines and they had to like travel back in time to stop something. So yeah, I mean,
Cyberdine. That's literally, I think that's what it was, right?
yeah.
I feel like there's a missed opportunity right now for someone to go out there and build an AI company called Cyberdine and try to like license the logo from whatever Paramount or whoever it is. I feel like people would flock to that app. Who knows? Might work.
I think the doomsday predictions, right? Everybody's building bunkers and they're building that. I wonder if stocks of those companies will eventually start going up just because everybody will need such a facility in their homes.
Is there a specific skill that you feel like, no matter your age, your industry, where you are in your career, that is really important to learn?
Important and also easy to learn. And that is sort of prompt engineering. I think that's the term that sort of comes up often enough, and everybody kind of thinks that they sort of understand what it means. Essentially, it's the ability to tell AI how to sort of answer the question or how to generate whatever you're asking it. It seems like everybody feels that they understand it, right? And I don't think they do. So we see that internally, for example, where we've been using the AI to kind of generate some content. And I can see how, for example, the team is struggling to do that. But the reason for that is because they haven't prompted ChatGPT enough. They haven't like explained ChatGPT what is it that they want. So yes, it's AI is quick. It can sort of produce content quickly, and say something that used to take you an hour could seemingly take you 10 seconds.
Right.
But I think with prompting, it could still be an extra 5 to 10 minutes because you need to kind of like write the prompt.
Got to get it there.
Right. And then it will be, the outcome is going to be that much better. But this kind of like lack of sort of perhaps understanding that that's an important skill to learn, not just something that people have innately in them, is very similar to the way people sort of used to treat and perhaps still treat Google search. Like I meet so many people today with Google being in existence for a quarter of a century that don't know how to use Google search. They just go in and they start typing into the box whatever they feel like typing without sort of awareness of how to structure the Google query. Like my dad is being, an example where he just goes in and he types. Whereas we all know that there are ways of typing queries into Google that's going to calculate things for you, that's going to determine things, answer questions, right, et cetera, et cetera. So if 25 years on, people still don't know, a lot of people still don't know how to sort of formulate the Google search queries, it tells me that people will have the same proportion of people not really knowing how to operate AI because they haven't like invested into it that much more. But I think, and it's also a pretty easy skill to learn as well.
Yeah.
And ultimately, if our industry, if the entire world is moving towards there are no more developers, there are no more accountants, but all we are really now are AI operators. So the only sort of differentiator would be who can prompt the best.
Yeah. I've explained this a couple of ways to people. One, usually gets a chuckle, which is you got to treat AI similar to a relationship with your wife. And maybe if your wife is different, my wife's probably going to kill me for saying this. But the hey, can you go get that thing for me in the closet? Well, what thing? That thing. I need that
Sure.
thing, right? And it's like, okay, I don't know what thing, where in the closet, what color, what size, I don't know, right? And it's similar to the AI. Hey, write that blog for me, or write this for me. If you don't give it enough context, instruction, what color, what size, what tone, and it's deeper than that, right? And so I also like to explain it as an employee or a team member, right? Like if you're gonna want them to be successful, you've got to give them the resources that they need for them to deliver the results that you want from them, right? And obviously it doesn't mean you're going to spoon feed them, but you give them enough context and enough understanding of what the desired outcome is that the result it produces for you is valuable to you. So if you don't want to spend 50 minutes getting ChatGPT to completely rewrite or redo the work, just spend an extra 10 on getting that prompt set up properly so that it does output better for you.
Yeah, that's exactly right.